But now, getting into my 50s and being in midlife, my body is just changing whether I wanted to or not, and I have had to really, really go back and make a new piece around aging and how my body looks and how things are shifting.
This is the Roller Coaster Podcast. We are here to help you be empowered and renew your sense of purpose as a midlife mom. This is your time to redefine and reclaim your power as a woman. Just because our kids are getting older doesn't mean that our lives still don't have crazy twists, turns, ups and downs. And that's not to mention what our hormones are doing. We're navigating helping our kids plan their next chapters while quietly wondering, what the heck does my next chapter look like? My name is Lucy Q, wife, mom, podcaster, and journaling mentor. This is a crazy time in your life, but you are not alone. So I'm inviting you to throw your head back, arms in the air, and come along with me for the ride.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride.
Welcome to the roller coaster. I'm your host, Lucy Q. I want to start with a question. And I know you're probably going to go, oh yeah, I know this one. But have you ever been sucked in to the false promises of this diet or that diet? I mean, let's face it. Many of us in midlife, the pounds, they seem to come on so much easier than they shed away, if they go at all. And once we hit the other side of 40, our health and maintaining it becomes critical. But it is also so confusing because our bodies are different and there isn't any one solution. And for many of us, we seem to be locked into this battle with our bodies. It's a never-ending battle. Joining me today is Heather Carey, nutritionist, healthy cooking instructor, and kitchen coach, to share how we can make peace with our midlife bodies. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much for having me today. I can't wait to talk about this topic because it's something that I not only am going through in my own midlife, but that I teach midlife women to, make peace with.
And it's such a hot topic because, if anything else, everything's changing inside of us. Our hormone changes, our moods, all of that happens inside of us. But the one thing that's really apparent outwardly is how our bodies change. And on top of the aging process, a few more wrinkles, gray hair, the one thing that really, can be that pain point for women is our weight. And that's
Absolutely.
why, I always welcome the opportunity to talk about this because even, as often as I have these conversations, I'm still confused. I still have no clue. And today we're going to be talking about how we can eat healthy in midlife and accept our changing bodies, and also how stress and sleep play into everything. But Heather, first, I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about your relationship with food and your midlife journey.
Sure. Well, I have a whole story around just being on and off diets half of my life. I mean, I grew up on diets. I had parents who encouraged me to be on a diet by age 11. And so I was in this diet framework, for a long time until I turned in my 30s. I had my children, and I was carrying an extra 25 pounds on me. Now, I'm a nutritionist. I should know better. I knew how to lose weight. And I realized that the one thing that was really missing for me was the kindness and compassion behind losing weight, and really getting in touch with my why. Why do I want to do this? So I really shifted my focus around then, from just counting calories, counting fat grams, being, on a certain diet, and changed my whole relationship with myself, which then in turn got me to lose weight in a slow and steady way and keep it off, which is, I think, the most important thing. Now, fast forward. So, I was pretty successful with that. And this is how I really coach my clients. But now, getting into my 50s and being in midlife, my body is just changing whether I wanted to or not, and I have had to really, really go back and make a new piece around aging and how my body looks and how things are shifting, and 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 shift my focus a little bit. And things definitely do change when you get into midlife. It's not as easy to just like think I'm going to lose some weight and then not cut back on some calories for a weekend and you're back on track. It's like things are different. Our metabolism absolutely slows down. Our hormones are shifting. We're losing estrogen, and that changes a lot for women. That changes the focus on how we look at weight loss for women in midlife.
And it's hard. I remember back to, we had 2 kids, and after I had the 2 kids, I was at home with them. So my outlet was going to the gym. And I would spend, anywhere between 15 and 20 hours a week at the gym. It gave the kids a chance to play and interact with other kids. And for me, I was probably fitter than I was in my 30s and I was in my 20s. I did a lot of cardio. I lifted the weights. I did all of that, and I was fit. That's not
Right.
working for me anymore. And, for many of us, we were taught calories in, calories out. But that formula doesn't work in your 50s, because if you go back and you lean on that heavy cardio, that's where you can throw your body into adrenal fatigue. And, I think that's kind of the cycle that I got stuck in. And now, then you add in, your hormones changing, and you're like, what do I do? And I've finally been able to get, I think for now, my hormones balanced. I started using the estradiol patch, and,
Mm-hmm.
it's stabilized in the sense, because I know I'm finally sleeping for the, back again in the first time in months and months. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm still left with a question. Okay, well, what's my next best step? So for women out there that are either trying to balance their hormones or try to regain some footing with their weight, what is the next step that we can take?
Well, I think you're totally right about the cardio. Right, back in our 30s, we could just go for a run or take a boot camp class, or and that seemed to just do the trick. Exercise was more, as long as we were exercising a lot, burning those calories. And now I think with our, when you get into midlife and get into your 50s, 40s, 50s, your metabolism starts dramatically dipping. So that's one thing. A lot of women want to blame just hormones and this concept we have to balance our hormones, and that's definitely something we need to focus on, our estrogen levels and everything, but our metabolism really is getting affected. So the way to help increase metabolism is to shift the focus, I think, from to overdoing cardio to then starting to do strength training. The more muscle mass we have, the more our metabolism increases. And that's just how we, burn our calories more efficiently. So that's definitely one thing. I think going on hormone replacement is a great idea, I think, for a lot of women, especially if you're suffering from hot flashes, then in turn you're not getting good sleep. So that is definitely, really helpful to just to maintain that sort of hormone balance, but we want to just be mindful of the fact that going on hormones is not going to make you lose weight, right? But it's going to help with a lot of other things.
I was wishing. I was
Yeah,
wishing
I
it.
know. I know. I
Like,
totally
give
understand.
me the
Yeah,
patches. I'm just gonna coat myself in these puppies, you know?
right. I
No,
know.
it
When we
didn't.
had
I
all our
sleep,
estrogen,
but
it was, yeah. But I mean, but sleep is so important because the lack of sleep then can set off a firestorm of over snacking, overeating. There's been studies done on this, that your sleep is so incredibly important just regulating hormones. So if going on hormone replacement is going to calm down the night sweats and hot flashes that are keeping you up at night, which in turn gives you a really good night's sleep, then all the better. I'm definitely a proponent of hormone replacement therapy, especially if it's helping with those kind of things.
and in a lot of, depending on where you are, the narrative behind hormone replacement therapy has been changing. I know here in Canada for a while, it was completely written off, whereas now they're starting to realize the importance. And in fact, when I was first put on the patch, I was just given the patch and then I switched doctors. And the doctor goes, wait a second, you're on the estrogen patch, but you're not taking any progesterone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, news to me. I didn't
Mm.
know. Even with all of the sort of the research and the conversations that I've had, there's still these little nuances that can change between one doctor and the next. And it just adds to that layer of confusion.
Absolutely. I think that there's so much old belief from the older studies that were done 2 decades ago on hormone replacement. And, they thought that there was a real link to breast cancer. And so there was that firestorm. I don't know if you remember this, like everyone just
Drop your
abruptly
hormones. Yeah.
stopped hormones. And then there was a lot of fear around it. And I have my primary care doctor who said to me the other day, I'd rather be in jail than go on hormones. And I mean, this is such outdated thinking. If you go on the North American Menopause Society's website, I mean, they're absolutely all for hormones. There's not a link to breast cancer anymore. That was really debunked. So there are a lot of benefits for being on hormone replacement. I'm clearly a fan. I mean, I'm on hormones, and I think that what you said is a really good point about the progesterone. That is some old thinking too. You definitely need some progesterone to balance out the estrogen. That keeps you, safe from uterine cancer and things like that. So, you know, I think there's a lot to still learn about it, but I think there's a lot of benefits to being on hormone replacement.
And my mother is going to be 75 this year, and she still has the hormone patch. She's like, I'm not
Okay.
giving it up. I'm like, good for you. If that works, perfect. It just, it's just another, piece of evidence that sort of shows a different narrative.
Yeah, no, I had always thought, I'm like, the second I start going into midlife and like menopause transition, I am absolutely going on hormone replacement. I know myself. I know, and I just know the benefits. It's good for your heart. It's just good for hot flashes, which in turns, helps your sleep. And so I think that there's a lot of benefit for it.
Now, what do we do when it comes to food? Because it's not as simple as calories in, calories out. So what should be our approach when it comes to how we're fueling our bodies?
Yeah, I know there's just an incredible amount of confusion. I mean, there's an incredible amount of confusion before midlife anyway, right? With like the overproduction of diets and lose 30 pounds in 30 days and all of the so-called magic of dieting, and then transition into midlife, and then we're in hormone fluctuations and everything, and then I feel like this is even more confusing than ever because there's this belief that we can balance hormones and that's going to be the thing and to help us lose weight, but really I think we want to just lose the narrative of I need to go on a diet to lose weight, because diets are punishing. Diets are are a short-term solution for a long-term outcome. So we want to just try to eat in the best way possible, and also contend with the fact that we have this like dip in our metabolism. We have to adjust our, the amount that we eat. We have to be very mindful, even more mindful than ever, about what we are eating. And really the best way to eat is a plant-based focused diet. We want to add in a little more protein now, but we do what it there is something to be said about calories in, calories out, right? We want to be mindful of the amount of food that we're eating, but we want to be also very mindful of what we are eating. So you don't want to live on the McDonald's diet. That doesn't,
it's quality calories.
Yes, we want to be very mindful of our calories. So a lot of plants, a lot of vegetables, filling foods with lesser calories in them that are really good for you. I mean, vegetables and fruits are like my vitamins. That's what I call them, my edible vitamins. And so we really want to focus on the good quality proteins, healthy fats, whole grains, not a lot of that, but just mostly like focusing on the plants and the protein. And we want to start considering how much alcohol we're drinking, all those empty calories, all that, the emotional side of eating, the nighttime sugar, the narrative that I need to have a glass of wine to end my day. Those kind of, all those empty calories can,
full confession. Red wine is my vice. And I did, rely on it probably in unhealthy ways, because it was just that, call it escape at the end of the day, just to disconnect and just let it all go away. But I also realized that when I did drink wine at night, how it was impacting the way I slept, which impacted how I felt the next day. And it just sort of snowballs from there. So it is, and again, in my 30s, never a problem. Now,
right,
it's a big problem, aside from the, the other sort of health hazards when it comes to consuming alcohol, how it plays on you in midlife. It does change. And you just, in a sense, you just have to resign yourself to the fact that this is just now the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. What you could get away with back in your 30s is not the same as what you can handle in your midlife, and we metabolize alcohol differently the older we get. I frequently hear women say, I can only drink, I used to be able to drink a couple of glasses of wine. If I drink one glass of wine now, I get a really bad headache or a hangover, or because we're not metabolizing alcohol the same way. And so that's one thing. It's just the empty calories. And then it's also the consideration of relying on alcohol or sugar to soothe us. We want to try to shift that focus and find other ways to help us relax and help us calm down at the end of the day, and unlink that, I need to have a glass of wine. We have been inundated with that narrative. I mean, right? When my kids were little, I mean, it was mommy needs a glass of wine at 5 p.m. I mean, it was just what you did. And all my friends were doing it, it was just like the reward at the end of it was normal.
Yeah.
It was normal. And so I think we have to debunk that narrative that we need to have these things in order to be happy, or to soothe ourselves, or to finish off the day. And but I understand it. I mean, I was right there in it, and I stopped drinking a couple of years ago, just because I realized, I'm like, alcohol is, if I'm having a bad day, if I'm bored, if I need something to do, it's Friday, I'm celebrating.
Celebrate.
Right? I mean, so it's just, it's just something to consider, that
Yeah.
want to, start just taking a look at how we view alcohol, which is just not only linked to so many habits, but to just in the empty calorie, space too, that we want to start just, it's an opportunity, I think, in midlife to just start looking at some of these things. And if you want to maintain weight or lose weight, it's just one other thing that we should be looking at.
Now, I know we touched on sleep earlier, but how does stress and lack of sleep, how does that really impact our overall, our weight and our health?
Yeah, well, stress is interesting. I mean, it's almost unavoidable, right? I mean, we're all under some kind of like chronic stress every single day. I mean, all you have to do is turn on your computer and go to the internet for a few minutes, or on social media, and see a couple of those women who look amazing, and then you start comparing yourself to them, or you're sitting in traffic, or like, we're all under some kind of like chronic stress. And stress is one of those things that if it's always up here, if we're always like, in like a high stress mode, then our cortisol levels, you might have heard this, cortisol is our stress hormone. Cortisol is what keeps you like alert and like looking and, running if you're, just able to like, dart away from danger. And the fact is that we're not really under like, sitting in traffic is not like a dangerous situation, but our brains don't know that. And our brains keep our cortisol levels high. Cortisol then in turn slows everything else down in our bodies, our digestion, anything that needs to just like kind of take us, a seat over here so we can get very alert. But that in turn, decreasing our, slowing down our digestion slows down our metabolism, right? And that we talked about that before, that slowing down your metabolism, then you cannot burn calories efficiently and fast enough. So we want to do really everything that we can to just try to slow down this rush of cortisol and our stress levels. So it's another thing in midlife to just get a lot more mindful about. Now, I always, with my clients, I'm a huge journaler. I love to journal. I know that you are too. And that's something I've been doing my entire life. So it's been really helpful for me. So that's one way to, I think, just release our stress. Any yoga, I mean, meditating, just anything we can do to just, stay a little more calm. Stress then in turn can totally affect our sleep, right? I mean, if you're stressed out about things, and there's a lot to be stressed out about. I mean, right? We've just been like, COVID, and I don't know here, like there's the flu, COVID. I mean, we have like this tridemic going on.
Oh, it just seems like every other day there's some new disease that we have to be afraid of. And it's just like, oh, I've lived this long.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
right.
Whatever.
Yeah, right. So it's, these things can keep you up at night,
Yeah.
I know a lot of women right now. I mean, they're just insomnia, like just up thinking, it's just
And insomnia it's debilitating. It really is. And for me, my only saving grace is that I work from home. With the bouts of
right.
insomnia that I had, if I had to commute and be in an office all day, I would most definitely be a danger driving.
Right.
And I probably couldn't function properly in that group environment where, the person sitting in the cubicle next to you, their chewing is just so loud and it's driving you insane. It's all those little things that I've been able to cope because of my environment. And my heart really goes out to the women that don't have that option, because, that in itself would just, double down on their stress levels.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, we live in a very fast paced, right? And world where we're commuting and getting on trains or sitting in traffic and right, having to sit in an office and be on schedules, right? So if we have a terrible night's sleep, still got
You're
to get up
screwed.
and do it, and so to make sleep and our stress a priority right now. I mean, again, back in our 30s, we could get away with this stuff. A bad night's sleep after a couple glasses of wine, who cares? Yeah, right. You could just get up and bounce back, and by the end of the day, you felt
I mean,
okay. Do it again.
who didn't have to deal with toddlers while having a ferocious hangover? I mean,
Right,
we all
right,
could do it
exactly.
then. Now, not on your life.
Never, never. I mean, I can't even imagine now. But and so it's what do you want? You have to, what do we, this is a perfect time to just start reevaluating. We are just getting older. What do we want in our second half of our lives? Do we want to keep going the way we're going? Or do we want to try to shift and make some changes so we can feel at peace, and feel like we are doing our absolute best with ourselves?
I like that. Feel at peace. Because it's not necessarily about what our body looks like. It's about how we feel and how we're showing up for those people that we love in our lives.
Right. Yes. I mean, I think it starts to be a little less about, can I fit into those jeans that I used to wear when I was 20? Or can I just feel a little more in peace with our body? I mean, we are aging, period, at the end, right? And so our bodies are just shifting. As the decrease in estrogen means that there might be more fat around your belly. It redistributes your weight, if anything. And we're just shifting. We're maybe losing some height. I've lost like a half an inch. Like, I just like realized the other day, I'm like, oh wow, I'm shrinking. I'm shrinking height wise. Right.
I'm shrinking height wise, but it just seems
yes, right.
It's like somebody's,
exactly.
I'm like one of those little marshmallow people. You're just kind of squishing me like this.
Yeah. But when when you go on social media and then you see these women who are like in their 60s, like I just saw Christy Brinkley the other day. I don't know if you know the
Yes.
model. I mean, is she almost 70? I mean, she's, she probably spends tons of money on, work on her face and her skin. I mean, she's got the resources and everything to do that. But I don't know if I want to have to strive to be, that level of try to look like I'm 40 when I'm 70. I think we want to just try to just make some peace with aging. Aging is okay. Social media says it's not, that we should be aging in reverse, but I think, just trying to just lean into, we're just getting a little older, and so that might mean, not having to be in a size 2, and it just, we might, might be okay with being like just looking a little different.
And there's nothing wrong with elastic waisted pants.
There's nothing wrong with them. They're very comfortable.
It's all good.
Right.
Now, Heather, as we wrap up, do you have any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned before, that I want my clients and my, and just people who listen and to be on my own podcast and everything, and just to know that, like, everyone you're doing your best. You're really, this is not an easy transition being in midlife. I mean, with hormones, with, our insomnia, we have even more stress. We might have aging parents on top of our children now. We have this like dual thing, and our bodies are shifting, and we are just doing our best. And if we can give ourselves all the kindness and compassion in the world, that is, really what we want to strive for, is to just be easy on ourselves and give ourselves some, a healthy dose of compassion.
And what was the name of your podcast, Heather?
My podcast is called Real Food Stories.
Awesome. Well, to connect with Heather and to find out where you can listen to her podcast, make sure you check out the show notes. And remember, if you're feeling lost, stuck, and confused in midlife, make sure to grab a copy of my guided journal, Your Journaling Journey. It's packed with tools to help you find clarity, guided prompts, affirmations, and gratitude. You can get your copy of Your Journaling Journey on Amazon today. Thank you to all of my listeners. And Heather, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. It was nice to meet you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Roller Coaster Podcast. Want to chat or share your ideas about today's show? Pop me an email at hello@therollercoasterpodcast.com. Don't forget to connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at The Roller Coaster Podcast. Our theme song, Roller Coaster, was performed by The Lucky Setback. Audio editing by the one and only Jeff Quigley of Quigley Creator.
Life is like a roller coaster, baby, baby. I wanna ride, 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 ride. Life is like